What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Black Ops 6. And in today's episode, we're going to be diving into the C9 SMG. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile, and as you can see here, it's going to be a 4 to 7 shot kill to the body. And when it comes to headshots, SMGs really don't excel in this area. We only get a 1.1 times multiplier here, and what this means is up close headshots are literally useless. And then at a distance, you're going to need to mix 4 or 5 headshots in order to reduce the number of shots to kill, which is just not very practical at all. So unless you're going for headshot camos, there's really not much reason to be aiming for the head. Unless you're using the CHF barrel, this does boost our headshot damage multiplier up to 1.2. And with this up close, you do need every single bullet to hit the head if you want to get a 3-shot kill. So not super practical right up close. But anything beyond that maximum damage range, you just need 2 headshots mixed in with body shots to cut down the number of shots to kill, and therefore it's at least a little bit more viable there. As for our rate of fire, I would call this moderate at 732 rounds per minute. And this means our time to kill potential with a 4-shot kill is 246 milliseconds, which is a very fast time to kill in this game. That's better than average even for SMGs up close, so that's excellent. And then dropping all the way down to its minimum damage range, we're killing in 492 milliseconds with a 7-shot kill. And it turns out that's actually the fastest time to kill in the SMG category within that minimum damage range. And as a result, as long as you can hit your shots, you can kind of get away challenging gunfights beyond what you would normally expect with an SMG when using the C9. As for headshots cutting down our time to kill, like I said earlier, with the CHF barrel, if you land all 3 shots to the head, you can get a 3-shot kill up close, and that'll give you a time to kill of 164 milliseconds, which is insanely fast, but not something you're going to be able to do on a consistent basis. And then finally for time to kill, before we get into our range values, we have rapid fire, and this will boost our rate of fire up to 779 rounds per minute for a 4-shot time to kill potential of just 231 milliseconds, which is very, very fast. Now, getting into our ranges, our 4-shot kill potential is 13.3 meters, which is not bad at all for an SMG. That's actually pretty good for a maximum damage range. And then our 6-shot kill potential will extend out to just over 30 meters, with a hit scan range of 27.5 meters, given the bullet velocity being 550 meters per second. Now, when it comes to barrels, if you use the gain twist barrel, this will give you a 50% boost to your velocity, which is a pretty big boost to your hit scan range as well, up to just over 40 meters. With a long barrel, we get a 30% boost to our damage range values with no increase to bullet velocity, and then the reinforced barrel gives us a 15% boost to range and 30% boost to velocity with the C9. As for rapid fire, as we saw, we do get a very fast time to kill potential with it, but it also harms both our range and velocity value by 10%, so that is something to be aware of there. And with that out of the way, we can now move into hardcore game modes. And for an SMG at least, the C9 isn't bad in hardcore game modes. You get a solid 1-shot kill potential to the body. That will extend out to 16.5 meters, which is better than most of the SMGs out there. But outside of that, it is going to be a 2-shot kill unless you're using the CHF barrel and hitting a headshot in that 3rd damage range. As for Hipfire, we actually have the exact same Hipfire spread as the SOG, which we've already covered. And it's basically just average for SMGs here. Technically slightly better than average, but essentially average, which isn't bad by any means. SMGs do generally have good Hipfire. And now we can get into recoil, and the C9, especially with those initial shots, it has a pretty harsh zigzag effect, and this can absolutely throw you off target, and it's the thing that really holds this gun back from being able to be super effective at longer ranges, because there's really only so much you can do to compensate for that. Even with attachments, while you can straighten that up a little bit with horizontal recoil attachments, you are always going to be at least somewhat limited here. Now, of course, I also want to look at the CHF barrel. This massively increases our recoil, so definitely something you want to be aware of. That is a pretty big trade-off to make, and it's a similar story with rapid fire. Once again, as expected, we are getting a faster time to kill potential, but it is going to be noticeably hurting our recoil and therefore our effectiveness at longer ranges. Now, what about handling on the C9? Well, with our aim down sight time, this is just slightly better than average. Again, basically just average for an SMG at 210 milliseconds. And our sprint to fire time, also pretty much bang on average for an SMG at 130 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time and 215 milliseconds for our tactical sprint out time. As for our slide to fire and dive to fire times, both of these are just standard for SMGs at 320 milliseconds and 400 milliseconds respectively. Next up, let's have a look at our reload times with various magazines, but first, with the base magazine, which has a 30-round capacity, our reload time is 1.79 seconds, which is pretty slow. Especially if you're playing aggressively, this can really hold you back. So we have some options here. With the flip mag, we get a 30-round capacity, and we'll alternate between 1.35 seconds and 1.47 seconds every second reload. With the fast mag, it drops our capacity down to 25 rounds, but we get a consistent 1.42 second reload time. And then very interestingly, with extended mag 1, this boosts our capacity up to 40 rounds, But we get a very slow reload time here at 2.15 seconds. And it's worth noting that's noticeably slower than Extended Mag 2's reload time. And that one gives us a 50 round capacity with a reload time of 1.88 seconds. And this is something where I didn't catch on with this initially, but I've actually stopped using Extended Mag 1 after seeing this, because that's a painfully slow reload time for a marginally larger magazine capacity. So if anything, if I am going to use a magazine attachment, typically I actually just want to reload faster with the flip mag. That's going to give you your best option because it doesn't harm our magazine capacity at all. Or just use Extended Mag 2, take that handling hit. It will hurt your aim down sight and sprint out time a little bit, but at least you'll have a larger magazine than the Extended Mag 1 and a faster reload time that's only a little bit slower than our base reload time with the C9. But with that out of the way, let's finally move into our mobility stats, and across the board with the C9, this gun is just average. There isn't a single one of these stats that's anything out of the ordinary for an SMG. It's almost directly on the average point. And that's not a bad thing by any means. SMGs do have solid mobility by default. It's just that the C9 doesn't really stand out at all in this area within the SMG category. And with that, we can finally move into some excellent attachment combinations for you guys. And the first one I want to share is my typical balanced stealth build. This is my go-to one for public matches. And with this, we're rocking the suppressor to stay off the radar. We've got the Ranger foregrip to help a little bit with the horizontal recoil, but also this allows us to sprint around the map noticeably faster. It helps with our sprint and tactical sprint speed. I used to use the Extended Mag 1 attachment on this, but I have since switched over to the Flip Mag, so I may need to reload more often, but when I do reload, it's going to be significantly faster. We've got the ergonomic grip to help with our aim down sight speed, sprint to fire time, and dive to fire time. And then finally, we've got the infiltrator stock on there, which allows us to aim down sight and strafe in gunfights as fast as possible. And that gives us a very solid aim walking speed at 4.2 meters per second. So like I said, that's my go-to. That really suits my flanky, aggressive playstyle when playing in public matches. However, sometimes I like using Gunfighter, and with Gunfighter, you can do a lot with this gun. With this particular build I wanted to share for you guys, we've got the compensator, the long barrel, the vertical foregrip, and when you combine that with the compensator and the recoil springs, which I've also got on there, we have a very, very accurate gun on our hands. This allows us to stretch those ranges out very nicely. And just a reminder, our time to kill at longer ranges isn't bad with the C9, so you can stretch this more than you can with most other SMGs. We've also got Extended Mag 2 on this, so it allows us to spray and pray a little bit. Although we do take a small hit to our sprint out time there, but it's still reasonably fast. We're once again using that ergonomic grip, the infiltrator stock, and then finally, I've got the target laser on there. And that just gives us better aim walking steadiness, so as I'm strafing in a gunfight, my sights aren't going to be bouncing around nearly as much, and it helps you stay on target while strafing in a gunfight. And this particular setup is rock solid. You can treat this kind of like an SMG assault rifle hybrid. I have no problem stretching my ranges out this beyond what you would normally expect out of an SMG. Honestly, the only limiting factor there is going to be your bullet velocity at that point, because you can fight beyond its hit scan range now. If that is a concern of yours, I would swap the long barrel for a reinforced barrel, but for me personally, I just really like that 30% boost to damage ranges when using long barrel. And this just leaves us with one last setup I wanted to share for you guys. And this is my really aggressive, rapid fire, also kind of hip fiery build that I've created that's just designed for really close quarters engagements. So unlike the previous one, you don't want to try stretching your ranges out at all. You want to keep yourself as close as possible. And if you do so, you get that very fast time to kill potential at 231 milliseconds. Also with this, we are using the Ranger foregrip to help sprint around the map noticeably faster. We've got the CQB grip to help with sprint out time, since that's going to be absolutely vital if we're getting in super close quarters situations. We're using the no stock attachment this time, and this helps our base movement speed, because when you are in close quarter situations, you're going to want to hip fire with this gun, and the no stock attachment is going to be best if you are hip firing. We've also got the fast motion laser, which is going to give us better hip fire as we're sliding and diving. Sure, you don't get as good of a hipfire spread just standing still compared to the steady aim laser, but we're not going to be standing still with this setup. I'm going to be sliding around as much as possible, so that's where the fast motion laser will be excelling. And then of course, we're topping it off with that rapid fire attachment. And this just makes for a really solid build if you're playing something like Face Off or just some of the smaller maps and you're really trying to fight in super close quarters engagements. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the C9. As for my thoughts on this gun, I personally love it. It's one of my favorite guns in the entire game right now. It's just so versatile, so easy to use. Yeah, there's that little bit of horizontal zigzag recoil to deal with, and I'd say that's like the one big downside with using this gun, but that's something you can get a handle over with attachments and also just practice. And once you get past that, it's just really good at being a solid SMG all around. Now, of course, those are just my opinions, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about the C9 in those comments down below. Also, if you guys missed any of the previous episodes, I will leave a link to the gun guide playlist in the description of the video. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.